Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show with me, Kavita Thapliyal, and let's move on. And a very important topic, things that you should do before you turn 40. And here, I mean financial planning that you need to do or get done with before you turn 40. To discuss more on this, I have with me Mrin Agrawal, founder, director, FinSafe. Mrin, good evening and welcome to the show. So a lot of these topics, you can see it on social media, on your Instagram, on your Twitter, so and so things to do before you turn 20 and things to quit before you turn 30. So I think, I just got inspired by that, and let me give you a task to list down the things that one should do before they turn 40 in terms of their financial planning. A very crucial age, okay, Mrin, where you are in the middle of a lot of things. You are in the middle of a lifestyle where you have reached a certain level. You have a certain pattern of living. You have reached a certain stage in your professional life. Maybe you are planning for a second inning. You are at a stage where also you are, either almost completing your financial goals like your kids' education, or maybe paying off your home loan, or somewhere in the middle of completing these goals, okay? And you need to also start planning for your retirement. So 40 being a very crucial age, what all actually changes for you financially? Also talking about the way you think about life and the way you want to live your life going on 20 years ahead. What are the things that one should really go back and think before they turn 40 or are almost about to reach that age?
Okay, the first three are really checking about basics, right? So good evening, Kavita, and thank you for having me on the show. And I think, the first thing is that, you always need to check, do I have all my basics in place, right? So, I think the basics as far as anybody's financial life is going to be to say, do I have that right amount of emergency cash? And do I have the right amount of life and health insurance? Because remember that, your family size might have increased, your circumstances might be different. Also, as you mentioned, lifestyles change so much every 4 to 5 years. So, keeping in line with your lifestyle, do you have the right amount of emergency cash, life and health insurance, right? Now, of course, you're planning for, a lot of people want to retire at 50. So if you're 35 today and you need to reach that number, you need to be doing some really serious planning, which means that you also need to be having some really serious savings, right? So then the next question is that, are you saving at least 30 to 40% of the take home? I do a lot of sessions, and generally I see that the average savings number is about 20-25%. And very, very few people actually are able to reach this 30-40% number, right? So I think, that is what one really needs to check. What is the number that one is at, and make the course correction accordingly. The third thing that you need to also check, which is interlinked to the amount of savings that you're doing, is to check where are you on loans, right? Especially unsecured loans, because unsecured loans, of course, affect your credit score. Unsecured loans are really expensive. I mean, remember, your income is not increasing even at the pace at the interest rate that you're paying for a personal loan, right? So, or a credit card loan, right? So obviously you need to ensure that somewhere by the time you reach 40, the only loan that you probably have is the home loan, and you're really, cleared off all of your other loans. So I would say that these are like some fundamental things that you need to have in place before you turn 40. And these are the first three.
All right, so very important. I think you covered the major part of the discussion just in your first answer, but I really want you to elaborate as to how can one achieve this, okay? Because you need to get your basics right, definitely, but what if you have not reached there yet? So how can we just go one by one? Let's just talk about liabilities first, things that you should be, financial liabilities that you should just be, done with.
Hopefully nobody will have an education loan by that age. But for example, given the fact that that's the time you start a family, people do tend to take a lot of, let's say, buy now, pay later, or credit card loans for a vacation, or personal loans, right, for marriage and all that, right? So clearly, these are expensive loans that you need to look at. You need to draw up a plan. First of all, it really means that you need to go on a complete financial detox, spending detox especially, and you need to be trying and saving as much as possible so that you can look at repaying off these particular loans. There's really no other way around it.
All right. Also, that being said, what about those people who plan an early retirement, or maybe want to come up with something on their own, or plan a second income when they are 40? I think this really needs certain amount of thinking and, introspection in terms of your life going ahead, your finances, also the kind of financial responsibilities you have on you. How can one go about it?
So I think the first thing is to have a financial planner in place. And I do truly believe that that's also one of the fundamental things that one needs to have, which is have a financial plan written for yourself with the help of a financial planner. And because, on your own, what happens is a couple of things. And, here is the next few things that you really need to start thinking about is, have you actually made your financial goals, right? And is it, are the goals defined properly, right? So just to give you an example, what happens is that somebody has a goal that I want to save for my child's education, and they feel okay, based on today's cost levels, I think I need about 20 lakh rupees. But actually what happens is that they don't take into account inflation, right? And with inflation, that amount 10 years down the line is actually going to be 35 lakh rupees, right? So what happens is that they actually end up investing the wrong amount. So I feel it's really important that, point number 4 and 5 be that, you need to ensure that you have thought about your goals very clearly and taken inflation into account when you are saving for those goals. Now, coming to retirement, right? So again, the earlier that you start saving for retirement, the better it is, because the amount that you need to invest is going to be lower, right? So let's take an example of a person who is having expenses of 1 lakh rupees per month. Okay. And let's say this person is 35 and wants to retire at 60. Now, at the age of 35, this person needs to invest 1 lakh rupees, right? If we take into account inflation at 6% and return on investment as simple 8%, which you'll get in your EPF, right? But if you delay this investment by 10 years, so if you don't start at 35, but you actually start at 45, then the amount that you have to invest is much higher. It's around 1,65,000 rupees, right? So I think, after getting these basics in place, you have to really focus on your financial goals to see that, have you set your goals correctly? Have you taken inflation into account while investing for these goals? And of course, it goes without saying that you really need to start investing early, right? The next thing would then be to see that where are you going to invest, right? Now, for example, the recent data came out, right? Which actually the household savings data came out, which showed that I think the equity allocation that households have is still less than 10%, right? Which means that on a majority of investments that they're doing, if we exclude real estate, right? On a majority of investments that people are doing, they're actually not beating inflation, right? So I think one more thing is to go and check two things. One, is my portfolio actually beating inflation or not? And for that, what you need to do is that you need to put down each asset class in your portfolio with the estimated that you're getting, and please take conservative estimates, and the percentage allocation. So like, for example, I have given an example where, let us say if you have 10% allocation to equities, and you've got 60% allocation to fixed deposits, maybe 20% in insurance schemes, and 10% in the employee provident fund. And typically, this is what I see of most people, that 90% of financial assets will be in fixed return instruments, and only 10% is going to be in equities. So in this case, your return is working out to 6.4%, which means it's not really beating inflation, right? So I think one of the very important things to do early on is to ensure that wherever you are investing, the portfolio as a whole actually needs to be able to beat inflation. And
Right.
for you need to have a good amount
Right.
of the allocation.
All right, so one has to really keep in mind the kind of allocation and the kind of changing financial status, and also if you have financial liabilities or responsibilities on you. Thank you so much, Min, for being on the show today and helping our viewers with this. On that note, let's take a quick break, but then post that, we'll be talking to our viewers and getting their mutual fund portfolio queries checked by Shweta Jain after this break.